Thank you, Chair, and through you, I am pleased to report back on my attendance at the Antisemitism Face It, Fight It conference held in Ottawa. Conference speaker Arsen Ostrovsky summed up the conference in 6 words. Antisemitism is Jew hatred on steroids. If we recall from the presentation of the Positive Student Climate Survey presented to the board at the May meeting at the end of the last school year, Jews ranked number 2 on the DDSB's list of students who feel the least safe in schools in the 2022-2023 Positive School Climates Report, with 76% of Jewish students having experienced feeling unsafe at school. We have some work to do. The first thing we were faced with upon arriving at the conference was actually anti-Semitism. We were not able to access the conference center because protesters had physically chained themselves to the front door. This was a conference on anti-Semitism, not a conference on Israeli politics. As you can imagine, with the conference taking place less than 2 weeks after the terrorist attacks by Hamas against Israel, there was an undertone to the conference that hadn't been predicted at the time of registration. Whether or not Jews agree with the actions of Israel, and we commonly state that if you have 2 Jews, you have 3 opinions, it's nonetheless true that the concept of Israel, concept not necessarily country, is in our blood. And the deaths of more Jews in one day for the first time since the Holocaust did add a darker note to an already dark topic of anti-Semitism. However, the Middle East was not the subject of the conference. Anti-Semitism was. And to see protesters bar Jews and allies from the center to discuss anti-Semitism was heartbreaking. To leave the conference on the final day, we had to be led out a back entrance and through the mall because, again, the protest was so large that we could not get through. This just goes to show that what happens in the Middle East matters here. Again, this is not about Israeli or Palestinian politics, but it's a fact of life that any time Israel provokes or retaliates conflict, Jews around the world in the diaspora pay the price. On Friday, October 13th, declared by Hamas to be a global day of rage, many Jews stayed home or in safe locations from work or school because of the threat to our community. I can't speak for the Muslim community, but I would imagine that many of you have been living in fear too. My heart goes out to you, and I hope that we can come together in shared grief and hope. What was heartwarming at the conference to see were the number of non-Jews in attendance. On the first day, I sat beside a representative for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Several of our speakers were non-Jews, including a Muslim woman working for the ADL. It was incredibly moving to see the groups of people surrounding us and assuring us that we are not alone in our battle and that they consider it to be their duty to fight anti-Semitism because we should not always be the ones fighting to protect ourselves. Anti-Semitism is not a Jewish problem. It is an everybody problem. One of the most important practical things learned for the board is that online mentions predict real-world violence. This is important to note for any kind of hatred, not just anti-Semitism. Monitoring the internet is of the utmost importance because online hate is a precursor. If you see it online today, it will happen in real life tomorrow. And in fact, lots of online hate is actually not started by people at all. It's started by fake accounts called bots who at alarmingly regular intervals post hate-filled messages, which are then spread online from everyone from terrorists to your well-meaning next-door neighbor. Anti-Semitism is often referred to as the oldest hate. It is also the one most commonly held by extremists. One of the speakers had worked to de-radicalize extremists from a number of different hate groups across a variety of religions and ethnicities, and said that every single one had a commonality. They all hate Jews. The second half of the second day was spent meeting MPs in the House of Commons. My group had a wonderful conversation with Shelby Cramp-Newman from Hastings, Lennox, and Addington, talking about our experience of what it means to be Jewish and the steps that the government can take to protect us, including help us access security for our synagogues and schools, strengthening the criminal code to help charge and prosecute what should be called hate crimes, and preventing the language anti-Semitism to be used when what the speaker truly means is anti-Jews. I have 5 recommendations for the DDSB to take in account in order to move forward in countering anti-Semitism, and those have been shared with you at your desk. The first is additional monitoring of the internet and widen the terms used to search for anti-Semitism. I did also include a glossary, a document by AGC in your agenda package, which includes many of the terms used for Jew hatred. What I like about this glossary is that not only does it give the term, it provides context as to when that term is anti-Semitic, because not all terms are anti-Semitic 100% of the time, and it helps provide that clarity in when they are and when they are not. I'd love to see the board provide additional supports for both Jewish and Muslim students that are ready to be put in place the moment that conflict breaks out in the Middle East. We should be prepared in advance so that we can move quickly when violence occurs. We should have some messaging drafted and ready to go so that any statements can be shared quickly and so that everyone feels recognized and supported. We need to go beyond the Holocaust. So while Holocaust education is of course essential, when it is the only thing taught, it sets an incredibly high bar for what people perceive anti-Semitism to be. We lose sight of the microaggressions and look only for genocide. And lastly, I believe that we should work more closely with the DDSB affinity network Shalom Durham and listen to the lived experiences of Jewish people. By engaging in frequent conversations with the community, we'll be better equipped to catch a rise in hatred early on. Shalom Durham compiles a comprehensive set of resources that could be used as a starting point. The conference ended with keynote speeches from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Opposition and Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre, Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. Each one pledged to support the Jewish community, and I hope they will stick to their convictions. I want to thank the board for their support in the fight against anti-Semitism, starting with sending me to this conference. I want to particularly thank Director Williams-Taylor for checking in with me personally more than once during this hard time, and Trustee Stone for taking a principled stance supporting the Jewish community at a time when it is difficult and sometimes dangerous to do so. Your allyship is noted and appreciated. I will end this speech with a quote by conference speaker Hen Mazik: "Being Jewish and alive is a miracle."